Hey Reed, Justin here. Thanks for sending in the video. And when we do your first one, it's a little bit different. I'm going to do an initial analysis, but also we need to do some physical screens. So there's certain things off 2D video that I just can't understand without getting my hands on you. And we can still do that virtually. And what's called as a movement screen. And so before I prescribe movement, which is a drill, I need to know the underlying physical makeup that you have. And that's something that we need to get under the surface. I can't do by just eyeballing it to find out what your movement capabilities are. So likely, because of your age and just looking at some of the length you have in your swing, you're probably a looser mover. And there's guys in the big leagues that are looser movers like Baez here on the right. They generally have bigger swing moves. The good piece of being a looser mover is you can produce more whip. The downside is you usually have more length in your swing until you're physically strong enough to stabilize your mobility. We'll get to that later. So you'll see on here today, you're going to have 3 additional screens that you'll do. And if there's something that there'll be degrees of rotation, you need to put that specific number into the messaging piece of this platform and let me know what that number is. Some of them are just pass fail. So if it's pass fail, just let me know that they're a pass or a fail. And that will allow me to prescribe the correct drills and also make sure that the style that you're using here in the batter's box fits your body type. So you got a little bit of a knee tuck here. I like how the knee tuck goes against your belly button. It's going to see very similar to what these guys do in the big leagues, and that's loading against your backside. Now we're looking for separation to occur, and that's you gaining ground away from your hands, and that part's pretty good too. I'll put an additional video on here about the scap load. You're not quite finishing your upper body load and your hands stay out away from you just a little bit more than I'd like, and that's going to contribute to the length in the swing. Now, how I look at this length is when your body starts to rotate, your shoulders and your hips essentially rotate together. And it could be that your shoulders are actually a little ahead of your hips. And how I view that then is your shoulder is going one way, this here, and the bat's going to have to counteract that and go out away from you. And how I view the length in the swing off 2D video, I'm going to look at how far the rear elbow is ahead of the hands by the time the elbow or the hands reach the body line, as well as how much separation of the handle of the bat we get from the shoulder. So you watch this with Baez on the other side, even though he's a looser mover too, bigger swing move, but you'll see that the rear elbow and the hands get to the hip line at the same time, and the handle of the bat stays very tight to the shoulder. So that's a shorter swing, and that's what we're looking for. Some of this is just you're not physically strong enough to stabilize your mobility yet, and that's why you get out around the ball. So some of this is waiting for you to get stronger. I do have several strength drills that I put on here as well once that time comes, so you're working on both things at the same time, your physical mechanics as well as your physical strength to go along with this. Your turn itself is really good against a firm front side. That part I like. See Baez doing the same thing on the other side. You are out and around the ball, but that's to be expected if we have some length initially in the swing. So if my first move has length, the counter of that is I'm going to be around the ball most of the time. Got a couple more swings left on here. This one had a better scap load, a better pullback, low pitch, and because of the better pullback, you had a tighter turn on this one too. You don't see the length on the swing on that inside pitch that we saw in the previous one that was away from you. So that second swing is more what we're going to want out of the finished product. Same thing here, better scap load in this one. Of scap load is that rear elbow pulling back towards that net behind you, and less length in the swing because of it. It's still there, just not as much. The last piece of this, generally when players have a little bit of length in your swing, you want to keep your approach into the opposite field gap because trying to pull the ball is going to lead to a lot more rollovers. You'll still pull some off-speed pitches, but try to think oppo gap, and that'll help keep you tighter and inside the ball. So get back to me on the messenger portion of this with those physical screens, and we'll start to prescribe a few more drills and analysis in upcoming weeks.